In the blood-soaked heart of ancient Gaul, where mist drifted over wild forests and the clash of iron echoed through rolling hills, one name rose above all others, a name that would haunt the dreams of Rome's greatest general. Vercingetorix, the great king of warriors, was born into a world torn by tribal rivalries and Roman ambition. From the beginning, his fate was marked by violence, ambition, and the desperate hope of a people yearning for freedom. It was the year 52 BCE, and Gaul trembled beneath the shadow of Rome. Caesar's legions marched with ruthless precision, dividing tribes, enslaving thousands, and razing towns for gold and glory. The Gallic chieftains, each ruling their own patch of forest and field, fought bitterly among themselves, unable to unite against the common enemy. Into this chaos stepped a young man from the Arverni, a tribe famed for its horsemen and fierce independence. Vercingetorix, raised in the halls of aristocratic power and schooled in both Celtic tradition and Roman cunning, saw what others did not, a chance to forge a new destiny for all of Gaul. The spark that ignited the rebellion came in a flash of violence. Roman traitors, arrogant and greedy, were massacred at Cenabum, a blow that rang like a war drum across the land. The time for vengeance had come. Vercingetorix, barely 30, seized the moment. He overthrew the pro-Roman faction within his own tribe, then called forth the ancient councils of Gaul. Traditional enemies sat side by side in the flickering firelight, their swords laid down in the name of unity. With words both fierce and wise, Vercingetorix persuaded them to choose him as war chief, supreme commander of a coalition that had never existed before. These warriors changed the course of history, standing together against the most feared fighting force of the ancient world. But Vercingetorix was no ordinary warlord. He understood that to defeat Rome, he must abandon the traditions that had doomed his people. No more glorious charges into the shield walls of the legions. Instead, he unleashed the fury of guerrilla warfare, raiding Roman supply lines, burning fields, poisoning wells, and leaving Caesar's men starving in the mud. When the legions advanced, Vercingetorix ordered the scorched earth, villages torched, granaries destroyed, livestock driven away. Every step forward for Rome became a step deeper into desperation. While enemies fled in terror, these warriors stood their ground. At Gergovia, Vercingetorix lured Caesar into a trap. Roman legions battered themselves against the fortified heights, falling in droves as Gallic spears rained down. The victory sent shockwaves through the Roman ranks. Never before had Caesar tasted such bitter defeat. Across Gaul, word spread like wildfire. The invincible Romans could be beaten. Yet the struggle was more than military. Vercingetorix was a master of psychological warfare. He sent messages to every tribe, recounting Roman atrocities, urging unity and sacrifice. Chiefs who wavered were executed. His rule was iron, but for a cause greater than any one tribe. Cavalry scouts swept through the countryside, gathering intelligence, sowing confusion, and striking where the Romans least expected. The Gallic horsemen, swift and deadly, proved superior to anything Caesar could muster, harrying the enemy with relentless fury. But fate, as always, turned on a knife's edge. The final act of this epic unfolded at Alesia, a hilltop fortress rising above the plains of Burgundy. Vercingetorix, with 80,000 warriors and countless civilians, sought to make his stand. Caesar, ever the genius, responded with a feat of military engineering that shocked even hardened veterans. He ordered the construction of double walls, encircling Alesia with fortifications bristling with stakes, ditches, and deadly traps. The Gallic army was trapped, surrounded not only by Roman steel, but by hunger and fear. Outside the walls, the call for rescue thundered across Gaul. A relief force of 250,000 warriors marched to Alesia's aid, the largest army the ancient world had ever seen. As starvation gnawed at the defenders, the final assault was launched, a coordinated attack from inside and out, desperate and savage. Roman discipline held firm, and the Gallic hopes were dashed in a storm of blood and screams. What happened next shocked even hardened veterans. As the civilians of Alesia faced death from hunger, Vercingetorix made the most agonizing decision of his life. He could have ordered a last glorious charge. He could have fought to the death alongside his warriors. But instead, in a moment of tragic heroism, he surrendered himself to Caesar, hoping to save the lives of his followers. In a dramatic ceremony, he strode through the battered gates, cast his weapons at Caesar's feet, and bowed his head, a gesture meant to preserve Gallic honor, even in defeat. The fate of Gaul was sealed in that instant. Vercingetorix was taken to Rome, not as a mere prisoner, but as a trophy of Caesar's triumph. For 6 years, he languished in the darkness of the Tullianum, the infamous Mamertine prison, kept alive as a living symbol of Roman power. His captivity was itself a weapon, a message to all who would dare resist the might of the empire. When Caesar's hour of glory finally came, Vercingetorix was paraded through the streets, chained and silent before the jeering crowds. Then, in a final act of political theater, he was executed by garrote, his death marking the ultimate victory of Rome over the barbarian world. Yet in death, Vercingetorix became more than a defeated enemy. He became a martyr, a legend whose story echoed through the centuries. His innovations in warfare, guerrilla tactics, scorched earth policies, intelligence networks, would be studied by generals for generations. His ability to unite fractious tribes into a single fighting force was a feat never matched again in Gaul. Even Caesar, hardened by countless battles, was forced to adapt his own strategies in response to Vercingetorix's genius. The legacy of this Celtic chief stretches far beyond the fields of ancient Gaul. In the centuries that followed, French kings and revolutionaries would claim him as a symbol of resistance. His statue stands at Alesia, a monument to hope, defiance, and the will to fight against overwhelming odds. In novels, films, and the hearts of patriots, Vercingetorix lives on, a reminder that even in defeat, true heroism endures. But the story does not end here. The fate of Gaul was forever changed by the stand at Alesia. Caesar's triumph in Gaul paved the way for his rise as master of Rome and set the stage for the fall of the Republic itself. The tactics and spirit of Vercingetorix would inspire rebels and freedom fighters across Europe, echoing through the ages as the eternal struggle between conqueror and conquered played out again and again. What remains is the question that haunts every battlefield. What might have been had the tribes of Gaul united sooner, had the siege of Alesia broken? Had Vercingetorix lived to fight another day? The fires of war may die, but the legend of the great king of warriors burns on, daring us to remember a time when the fate of an entire people hung on the courage of one man, and the hope that even the mightiest empire can be shaken by the will of the free.